Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, My Fiance's Friends Hijacked Our Wedding Plans. I Canceled Everything. Before I get into the drama that led to this decision, let me provide some context about how everything spiraled out of control. I'm Mira, 29, and my fiancé James is 31. We'd been together for 4 years before he proposed last summer. James is a great guy in many ways, kind, funny, and hardworking. But he's also what you might call a people pleaser, especially when it comes to his core group of friends from college. This friend group consists of 5 guys who call themselves the Brotherhood. I know, go ahead and give it an eye roll. There's Victor, the self-appointed leader, Tim, Chris, Derek, and Pete. They all live within an hour of each other and meet up at least twice a month for what they call Brotherhood Nights. I never had an issue with these friendships until they started interfering with our wedding plans. When James proposed, we agreed to have a relatively intimate wedding with about 100 guests. We both have decent jobs. I'm a physical therapist, and he's a software engineer, so we could afford a nice celebration without going into debt. We set a budget of $35,000 and started planning for a fall wedding this year. The trouble began at our engagement party. Victor pulled me aside while James was chatting with some relatives. So Mira, he said, now on his 3rd beer, the guys and I have been talking about the wedding. We've got some amazing ideas to make it epic. I smiled politely. That's nice, but James and I have already started planning. Yeah, but listen, he interrupted. We're thinking of Vegas bachelor party week. Then everyone flies to Miami for the wedding. We know this awesome party planner who can hook us up with a beachfront venue. The Brotherhood has connections. I blinked at him. Miami? We're planning to get married here in Connecticut. Most of our family and friends are local. Victor waved his hand dismissively. Trust me. People will travel for a destination wedding. James loves the idea. That was news to me. James and I haven't discussed any destination wedding plans. Well, maybe you should talk to your fiancé more, Victor said with a smirk that made my blood boil. He's been messaging in our group chat about it all week. That night, I confronted James about the Miami plans. Oh, that, he said, looking uncomfortable. The guys were just throwing ideas around. I didn't want to shut them down completely. But why didn't you tell them we'd already decided on a local wedding? He shrugged. Victor gets really passionate about his ideas. I figured they'd drop it eventually. If you needed a spoiler alert, they didn't drop it. Over the next few months, the Brotherhood's interference only intensified. Every time James and I made a decision about the wedding, they had better suggestions. When we picked our venue, a beautiful historic inn with gorgeous gardens, Victor sent James links to flashy beachfront resorts. When we chose our photographer, Tim's cousin, who's really getting into photography, suddenly needed to be considered. When we selected our DJ, Chris insisted his friend's band had to play because they're about to make it big. I tried to be patient, I really did. But things came to a head when I discovered they'd gone behind my back to meddle with our actual bookings. It started with an odd email from our venue coordinator, a woman I'm now more than immensely grateful for. Hi, Mira. I wanted to confirm the changes requested for your reception. The Brotherhood entertainment package seems quite extensive. We'll need to discuss additional security deposits for the fireworks display and the live animal photo opportunity. I nearly choked on my coffee. What? I immediately called her, who explained that someone claiming to be our wedding planning committee had contacted the venue multiple times, attempting to make significant changes to our contract. They'd even sent a detailed proposal for turning our elegant garden reception into what sounded like a circus-themed fraternity party. Don't worry, the woman assured me. We haven't made any changes without your or James's direct authorization, but they've been quite persistent. That same day, I got a call from our caterer. Apparently, the Brotherhood had tried to completely revamp our menu from the elegant farm-to-table dishes we'd chosen to what they called epic party food, including a whole roasted pig on a spit and something called Brotherhood Brew, served in beer bongs. I was livid. When James got home from work, I was waiting with printouts of the emails and messages I'd received. Oh boy, he said, seeing my expression. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? I slapped the papers down on our kitchen counter. Your friends are trying to hijack our entire wedding. They tried to change our venue contract. They've been harassing our vendors, and apparently they want a live animal at our reception. James ran his hand through his hair, his nervous tell. They're just excited about the wedding? No, James, this isn't excitement. This is complete disrespect for our wishes and our plans. Did you know about any of this? He couldn't meet my eyes. They might have mentioned some ideas in the group chat. Ideas? They're not just sharing ideas, they're actively trying to change our wedding plans. Why haven't you stopped them? I didn't want to hurt their feelings, he mumbled. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. James, whose wedding is this? Ours, of course. Really? Because it feels like it's becoming the Brotherhood's wedding, and we're just invited guests. You're overreacting about this. They just want to help. Am I? I pulled up my phone and showed him the latest message from Victor in our wedding planning group chat. Don't worry about Mira's objections to the Miami plan. Once we book everything, she'll have to go along with it. Trust the Brotherhood. James paled. They wouldn't actually. They're already trying. And you're letting them. We had our first major fight that night. James kept insisting his friends were just trying to help and that I was being too controlling about the wedding. I pointed out that it was our wedding, not the Brotherhood's latest party project. The next day, while I was still fuming, Victor added me to a new group chat called Operation Epic Wedding. The messages I saw there made my blood run cold. Victor, all right, Brotherhood, time for phase 2. I've got my credit card ready to book the Miami venue. Tim, Mira's gonna flip when she finds out. Chris, who cares? James gave us the green light. Derek, did he actually say yes? I thought he just didn't say no. Victor, same thing with James. Trust me, once it's booked, Mira will have to deal. James always comes around to our plans. Pete, what about all the deposits they already paid? Victor, small price for an epic Brotherhood wedding. Mira's loaded anyway, her family can afford it. I screenshot everything and immediately called James at work. Did you give your friends permission to book a venue in Miami? What? No, I just didn't exactly tell them they couldn't. That was the moment I knew I had to take drastic action. I spent the next hour calling every single one of our vendors. I explained the situation and asked them not to accept any changes or cancellations without both my written and verbal confirmation. Then I changed all the passwords on our shared wedding planning accounts, but I knew these were just band-aids on a much bigger problem. That evening, I sat James down for a serious conversation. I've been thinking about this all day, I began, and I need you to listen without interrupting. He nodded, looking nervous. Your friends aren't just disrespecting our wedding plans, they're disrespecting me, our relationship, and our future together, and you're letting them do it. That's not what I've been doing. Please, let me finish. Every time they've overstepped, you've chosen to protect their feelings over standing up for our decisions. They're actively trying to take control of one of the most important days of our lives, and your response is to say, I'm overreacting? I showed him all the screenshots from the group chat. They're planning to book a different venue without our permission, James. They're dismissing my feelings and making assumptions about my family's money, and you've enabled this behavior by never setting clear boundaries. He was quiet for a long moment. What do you want me to do? I want you to decide what's more important, appeasing your college friends or building a future with me. Because right now it feels like I'm engaged to the Brotherhood rather than you. That's not fair, he protested. They're my best friends, and I'm supposed to be your future wife, but you won't even tell them to stop interfering with our wedding plans. I'll talk to them about this. Just give me some time. No, I cut him off. I'm done waiting for you to handle this. I'm canceling the wedding. His head snapped up. What? You heard me. Until you can prove that you're ready to put our relationship first and set appropriate boundaries with your friends, I'm not moving forward with any wedding plans. You can't do that. Actually, I can, and I will. I pulled out my laptop and opened my wedding planning spreadsheet. I've already contacted all our vendors. Most of them have cancellation policies that will let us recover at least partial deposits if we act quickly. Mira, please let's talk about this. I love you, James, but I won't start our marriage by competing with your friends for basic respect and consideration. Either you handle this situation and prove to me that you're ready to be a husband, or we need to seriously reconsider whether we should get married at all. I spent that night at my sister's house, ignoring the barrage of messages from the Brotherhood. They ranged from angry, "Who do you think you are, trying to control James like this?" to manipulative, "James has been crying, hope you're happy," to condescending, "You clearly don't understand male friendship." The next morning, I had an email from the woman I'd talked to before, our venue coordinator. Mira, I wanted to let you know that someone claiming to be Victor from the Brotherhood tried to access your venue contract using James's email last night. As per your instructions, we denied the request. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this situation. If you need documentation of their attempted interference for legal purposes, I'm happy to provide it. I forwarded the email to James with a single question. Still think I'm overreacting? He didn't respond, but later that day, Victor posted in the Brotherhood chat. Emergency Brotherhood meeting tonight. James says we need to talk. I stayed at my sister's place for 3 days, giving James space to figure out his priorities. My phone kept buzzing with messages from mutual friends and family, most of them confused about what was happening. I decided to be honest with everyone who asked. James's friends have been trying to take over our wedding plans without our consent, including attempting to change vendors and book a different venue behind my back. When I expressed concerns, James dismissed them. I've canceled the wedding until we can resolve these issues. The responses were enlightening. Several of James's female cousins reached out to share their own stories about the Brotherhood's inappropriate behavior at other events. Apparently, they'd tried to spice up his sister's wedding by hiring strippers for the reception without telling anyone. They'd also ruined his own cousin's proposal plans by surprising the couple with their own elaborate scheme. We all just put up with it because James always defends them, James's sister told me. I'm glad someone's finally standing up to them. On day 4, James finally called. Can we talk? In person? We met at a nearby boba shop neutral territory. James looked like he hadn't slept much. I talked to the Brotherhood, he began. And you were right. I let things get out of hand because I was afraid of rocking the boat. Victor got really defensive at first, but when I showed him the venue coordinator's email and pointed out that what they were doing could be considered fraud, well, it got really fast. What exactly did you tell them? I told them their behavior was unacceptable, that they'd disrespected you, me, and our relationship, that if they couldn't respect our boundaries, they wouldn't be welcome at the wedding, if there still is a wedding. He reached for my hand across the table. I'm sorry, Mira. I've been a coward about standing up to them. They've been my friends for so long, I just got used to going along with whatever they wanted. But you're right, this is our future and I need to put that first. What did they say? Victor tried to argue at first, but the others actually backed me up. Turns out some of them had been uncomfortable with how far things were going, but didn't want to speak up. Pete admitted they got carried away with trying to recreate our college party days. They've agreed to back off completely from the wedding planning. And you trust them to keep that promise? If they don't, they're out. Not just from the wedding, from my life. I mean it, Mira. I choose you. It was a start, but I wasn't fully convinced yet. I appreciate that, but we need to talk about why it took me canceling the wedding for you to set these boundaries. That's not healthy, James. He nodded. I know. That's why I think we should do couples counseling before we reschedule the wedding. I want to be a better partner, and I clearly have some issues with conflict and boundaries that I need to work on. That was the moment I knew we might actually make it. James, suggesting counseling without me having to bring it up, showed he was serious about changing. Over the next few months, we worked with a couples counselor who helped us improve our communication and set healthy boundaries. James learned to be more assertive with his friends, and I learned to trust that he could handle these situations without my intervention. The Brotherhood, to their credit, seemed to finally get the message. They sent a group apology email that actually seemed sincere. Dear Mira and James, we owe you both a massive apology. We got caught up in our own excitement and completely disregarded your wishes for your special day. Our behavior was inappropriate and disrespectful. We especially apologize to Mira. We made assumptions and tried to take control of your wedding without considering your feelings. That was wrong. We understand now that we violated boundaries and abused James's friendship by putting him in an impossible position. While we hope to remain part of your lives and your wedding celebration, we will completely respect whatever decision you make about our involvement going forward. If you're willing to give us another chance, we promise to be supportive friends rather than disruptive influences. Sincerely, the Brotherhood. Victor, Tim, Chris, Derek, and Pete. 6 months after I canceled the wedding, James and I felt ready to start planning again. This time, we did it entirely our way. We kept our original vision of an intimate garden wedding, but we made some changes that felt right for us. Instead of having all of the Brotherhood as groomsmen, James chose just Pete, who had been the most supportive during our rough patch, and his brother as his attendants. The others were invited as regular guests, and to their credit, they accepted this decision gracefully. We also decided to hire a wedding planner to act as a buffer for any unsolicited suggestions or attempted interference. Our original venue coordinator had actually recommended someone who had experience dealing with enthusiastic family and friends. The actual wedding turned out better than I could have imagined. The historic inn looked gorgeous, our carefully chosen menu was a hit, and even the brotherhood behaved perfectly. Victor gave a surprisingly heartfelt toast where he acknowledged their past behavior and celebrated James's growth. "I've known James for 12 years," he said, "and I've never seen him as happy or as grounded as he is with Mira. She challenged us, and him, to be better friends and better men." So here's to the couple who taught the brotherhood that true friendship means respecting boundaries and supporting each other's growth. Later that night, as James and I swayed to our first dance song in the garden where we originally planned it, he whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on us." "Thank you for choosing us," I replied. "It's been 3 months since the wedding, and things have settled into a new normal." The Brotherhood still meets regularly, but James maintains healthy boundaries. They've even started including partners in some of their get-togethers, which has helped transform their dynamic from college bros forever to mature friendships. Last week, Victor's girlfriend confided that she'd never seen him so mindful of others' boundaries. "Whatever happened with your wedding really changed them," she said, "in a good way. Thank God it all went down before he started thinking about marriage with me." Looking back, I'm glad I took that drastic step of canceling the wedding. It forced us to confront important issues early in our relationship rather than letting them fester. James and I emerged stronger, with a clearer understanding of our priorities and better tools for handling conflict. Sometimes the best happy endings come after being brave enough to say no to the wrong things, even when it means taking a difficult stand. Our wedding may not have been brotherhood epic, but it was perfectly, authentically us. And that's all that matters. Here are my thoughts about the story. You know how sometimes you read these relationship stories and they're just straight up train wrecks where you want to reach through the screen and shake some sense into people? Yeah, this wasn't one of those. What really got me was how relatable the whole situation is. Like, we've all had that friend who's still stuck in college mode while everyone else is trying to grow up, right? And the brotherhood, man, I lost count of how many friend groups I've known with these super serious names for themselves. There's always that one guy, looking at you, Victor, who thinks he's still the main character in everybody's story. The part that really had me grinding my teeth was when they were secretly trying to change the venue contracts. Like, that's not just annoying friend behavior anymore. That's straight up illegal territory. And the live animal photo op? Geez, you just know that idea came up during one of those late-night genius brainstorming sessions where everything sounds amazing after a few beers. But here's what makes this story special. The fiancé didn't just go nuclear and dump the guy, which, let's be honest, plenty of these stories end that way. She actually handled it like a boss, securing the vendors, documenting everything, and then laying it all out for James. That's some professional level problem solving right there. And James, okay, can we talk about character development? Because this dude went from being a total doormat to actually stepping up and suggesting couples counseling. That's rare, folks. Usually in these stories, the guy either doubles down on defending his bros or makes empty promises to change, but suggesting counseling on his own? That's some real growth right there. You know what detail really sold the story for me? The Brotherhood's apology email. It wasn't one of those non-apology apologies like, "Sorry you got upset," or "We were just trying to help." They actually owned their behavior and acknowledged specific things they did wrong. I've read hundreds of these stories, and let me tell you, that kind of accountability is about as rare as that live animal they wanted at the wedding. The ending got me too, not because it was all perfect and fairy tale-like, but because it showed real change. Victor giving that toast where he admitted they were wrong, the group actually including partners in their hangouts now. That's the kind of ending you hope for but rarely see in real life. I think what really makes this story stand out is that it's not just about a wedding or crazy friends. It's about that messy transition from your wild 20s to actual adulthood. It's about learning that sometimes being a good friend means calling out bad behavior instead of just going along with it. And most importantly, it's about choosing to grow together instead of growing apart. Real talk. If any of y'all are dealing with friend groups that can't seem to grow up, send them this story. Sometimes people need to see themselves from the outside to realize how they're acting. And hey, if they respond by trying to book a live animal for your next event, well, you know what to do. But anyways, guys, with this, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like the video/comment if you enjoyed it. I'll see you again tomorrow.